Everyone, welcome to my final play. I'm here on the hardwood at Cumming College in Williamsport, PA. We're here with former professional basketball player Alison Tagliaferri. Alison, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yep. So we're going to get into the sports that you played, primarily the sport of basketball, but kind of just go through the beginning as far as sports and how it had an impact on your life.
Okay. I have an older brother who played basketball here at Cumming.
Okay.
So I think for me, growing up, I just kind of wanted to do whatever he did.
Yeah.
So I mean, both of my parents were pretty active. My dad played football and baseball in high school, but again, that was nothing that was ever really kind of instilled in us because my mom didn't really get a chance to play sports. Title IX wasn't as much of a thing back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to do whatever my brother did, and he played basketball at the YMCA in Jersey Shore, so I wanted to play basketball at the YMCA, and he played baseball. We both played at Newberry Little League. So I kind of just was like, okay, well, he's doing this, so I'm going to do this.
Right.
And that's just kind of how it started for me. As far as wanting to get involved, and we went to Jersey Shore High School, and I played, basketball and softball kind of throughout my whole life ever since then.
Right.
I played travel softball in the summer. Was kind of they didn't have very many AAU programs as far as basketball went in the area. But there was a ton of travel softball teams, so that's kind of what I got into growing up through, junior high and into high school. And then, we had a very successful softball program at Jersey Shore, and, basketball-wise, I think the group of girls that I played with, we kind of got better and better every year.
Yeah.
So it was great to kind of be a part of building a program. So, just great memories and great fun times in high school. And I think ultimately just the success that we had in both programs in high school is kind of what made me want to play at another level.
Right. So as far as playing at the next level, you went to Mansfield University, and you were a dual sport athlete there. Explain to us kind of the recruiting aspect and what you were looking for when you decided on Mansfield.
Well, for me, it was really hard for me to pick what sport that I wanted to play. I think a lot of people always said I was naturally better at softball. But for me, I think I just had the excitement of basketball, I think, was a little bit something that I enjoyed more as far as the action. Not that I love softball, and I was also a pitcher, so I really enjoyed it more when I was in control of the game,
Yeah.
on the mound. And not that I didn't enjoy it playing a position, but for me, I think just I liked basketball a little bit more, even though I had to work harder to be good at it.
Yeah.
I don't know, and that's just something that I think for me, I was getting looked at some bigger schools, for one sport or the other sport, and ultimately it wasn't really an option for me to play Division I and do both. So I just, I was very intrigued by, I'm very close with my family, so Mansfield's obviously only an hour away.
Right.
My grandparents were a huge part of my life and pretty much helped raise us, so just kind of the idea that they could be at my games and stuff like that was great. And then the other thing for me was, even at the Division II level, there were a lot of really great programs that were traditionally great and continue to be great. But for me, it's kind of goes back to the group of girls I played with in high school. We kind of helped build the program, and I think it was something that was more exciting for me because Mansfield was 3-23 the year that I was getting recruited.
Yeah.
And softball, they were better, but for me, I wanted to go somewhere where I could be a part of changing a program.
Right.
Instead of just going somewhere and being another good player, decent player on an already established and successful programs. So I just really liked that challenge, and I think that was part of the reason that I chose to go to Mansfield.
Yeah.
Along with it being kind of close to home.
So as far as looking to change that program, let's get into that as well, because some of the accomplishments that you've set and been able to actually still to this day keep on the basketball program at Mansfield University. Let's talk about those accomplishments. So you had the first team to actually take to the PSAC championship, correct?
Yeah, like they had never had a team that even qualified for playoffs in the past. And that was always our goal every year. And I don't even think I went into Mansfield thinking I was going to have that kind of career. I just am a very competitive person, and I don't know, my dad always told us, you have to be twice as good as the next player.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like everything I did, I wanted to be the best at it, and I wanted to win. I would do anything to win. And I think ultimately, that's the thing I'm most proud of. That's the accomplishment at Mansfield that I am most proud of, because to say the group of teammates that we played with was that first team.
Right.
That's probably one of the things I'm proud of the most in my entire career.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's kind of what I wanted to do when I went there, and the fact that, and no, we didn't go to the championships. We lost in the first round, but I think it was a necessary stepping stone for the future of the program. They made the playoffs again the following year, and I just think that that's something we can all say we were on that first team.
Part of that legacy.
Yeah.
Awesome. But then additionally, you still have the record for the most points scored.
Yes.
As well as, what are the other two?
I honestly don't even know.
Okay.
I
think it's free throws.
Points in a season. I don't know. I don't know that.
Either way, the accomplishments are definitely there. But that's only basketball. You went there for the Mansfield baseball or softball program as well, and you were definitely a contributor to that.
Yeah. My softball teammates, I just love them. I think Coach Gallagher, she's still there. I just think we had one of the greatest group of, we had I think 9 in our class that year that I graduated with, and we won the ECAC championship. It's funny because there was a lot of local rivalries that kind of continued in college. Some of the, Amber Power is one of them, but Brenna Eck and oh my gosh, I could literally go on and on. There's a bunch of them that went to different PSAC schools and played, and it was almost like we kind of took our high school rivalry and just plopped it right into the PSAC. So it was always very competitive, and some of my best memories I think are just games we definitely shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
That we did, because Mansfield was a smaller school with limited scholarship money compared to a lot of these other programs. So the fact that we were battling amongst some of the best programs in the country was just something that we'll be proud of. But so it was definitely a busy schedule playing 2 sports, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. So then after college, you continued your career in basketball and played at Portugal, or in Portugal as well. Explain kind of what that process looked like after college and kind of getting to that next level.
Well, first of all, I didn't even think that was something that could happen. If you're at a Division II program, you don't really think of a lot of players playing professionally. But for me, I never went into my career at Mansfield with the goal of okay, I want to play overseas someday. It really wasn't like that at all.
Right.
I got invited to a tryout, and I think it's something that's very common. It wasn't it was just specifically me.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if you were a senior and you had decent stats all over the country, there were a lot of agencies that would invite you to a pro tryout, because a lot of the European leagues and stuff stuff, were looking for players, in particular centers, because and I played in the Portuguese Basketball Federation, and like a lot of the local players that play in Europe are guards.
Okay.
They just don't have as many, as much size,
right.
as some of the the other teams. But so like even in our conference in general, when I was over there, most of the foreign players were Americans, were centers, like there weren't. I think there was only like one or two guards that like got sent over to play because of they already had a ton of really talented guards.
Right.
So I had gotten invited to a tryout. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the tryout because I had my ankle reconstructed. I had put it off until I was done playing at Mansfield, and I kind of just crammed all my rehab, and I had reached out to the agency that had invited me to the tryout and kind of explained, I'm unable to be at the tryout. I wasn't cleared at the time.
Right.
I'm going to be cleared in this month. Is there another tryout or whatever? And then, they got back to me, and I was able to send some game film, and like they called and were just like, oh, there's a team in Portugal that still needs a player. You're going in 2 weeks. And I was just like, oh, cool.
So not only did you not really have that goal of playing at that level,
right?
But you didn't even need the try. You didn't have the tryout. You just did it based off of game film.
Yeah, and I mean they allow, and I don't know if that. I'm assuming that that's something that is still going on now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, because the tryout I think it was like in Boston or something. So and I had enough game film from the sports info office,
right.
but it just worked out that they were specifically looking for a center still, and it was kind of just like it worked out.
Right. So as far as the channel of My Final Play, explain to us then, in Portugal, playing at that next level, what did that final play, that final game look like for you?
Well, I mean, for me, I always say that I'm so glad that I went overseas, because to me it was like I needed to prove something to myself, because a lot of the players that from America that were going over were Division I athletes. They were bigger than me. There was a lot of teams that we played against that had some like Olympic players or players that were on national teams from Spain or Brazil, because in Brazil you speak Portuguese, so they had a lot of Brazilian players just because of the language not being a barrier for them. So I think like for me, I just wanted to prove to myself, like, because I never pursued playing Division I basketball or pursued playing Division I softball, because I couldn't pick what sport I wanted to play. So I just felt like I needed to prove to myself that I could compete with some of the better players in the world, I guess. And I don't know, it was very hard to be away from my family and to be on my own in this place that, I was in a small town called Aveiro, and it's like an hour south of Porto, which is where they make port wine. So the town I was in was very small. There was not a lot of English-speaking teammates. There was not a lot of English-speaking people in the town itself. Whereas if you were playing in Lisbon or even Porto or some of the Azure Island teams, a lot of people in that area spoke English more, prominently. So it was very hard to be over there, and the roommate that they put me with was a girl that was on the younger affiliated team. She was only like 15 or 16 years old. She was still in high school. Here I am, I'm 23 years old in a foreign country, and she didn't speak English at all. So it was just really hard. So I think also just me, cramming all my rehab and going over there with the reconstructed ankle, I think, I did pretty well. I think I led the team in scoring and rebounding. I was able to participate in the All-Star game. But I miss my family so much, and I just missed like, it made me appreciate America, like, so much, just because I was in a very small town that was kind of behind. You had to go to the library to get internet.
Yeah.
So like if I wanted to, message my friends, or it was so expensive to just call home. I don't know. So for me, it was a great experience that I was like proud I survived.
Right.
And did well. But I was I think I was ready. Like I knew when that game was over, like I knew that was probably going to be the end of my playing career.
Right.
Just because I wanted to be able to be active for the rest of my life. And so I remember, we were still battling kind of for a playoff spot within our conference. And I think we had made it, and we might have won our first round game, but then the second one we lost. And I don't remember the actual end of the game, but I do remember just the emotions, because like these people had welcomed me, kind of looked after me, and like they were really my only support system that was over there. So I was emotional, kind of thinking, this might be the last time you ever play basketball competitively.
Right.
But I was also so excited to go home and see my mom and dad and my grandparents that it kind of just maybe got a little overshadowed.
But definitely that sense of accomplishment, I'm sure, to be able to, like you said, prove to yourself that you were able to go to that foreign country, be immersed in that completely strange environment, and yet compete at that next level.
Yeah, and it was definitely something, again, I would do it again. I think for me, my agent had a team for me to go to right away in Holland, and I just was kind of like, I think it's time.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to kind of transition from that. But had I not done that, I think I would have regretted it for sure for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, and you definitely touched on a strong point there as far as the transition. So you transitioned back home, but what did that transition for you particularly look like from player to, we'll say, civilian?
Yeah, civilian is the term that I definitely use. It was very hard for me, and I had kind of touched base with you on this before. I had a season-ending injury when I was a sophomore at Mansfield. I had a season-ending ankle injury, and I just did not handle that well. And when that happened to me, I went through a bout of depression, and I went to see a counselor, and I did get put on antidepressants for a time period, just because I couldn't handle not having my outlet for everything, which is what sports have always been for me.
Right.
So, when I came back from Portugal, I just didn't. I felt like I didn't fit in kind of anywhere. I had jobs. I was going to grad school. I started coaching at Penn College. I started running, just randomly doing 5Ks and 10Ks and just stuff like that, just to kind of keep my competitive juices flowing.
Yeah.
But I really struggled with it. I felt, I coached at Penn College for 3 years, and then I moved to Philadelphia, and I had a civilian job, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And I just felt like a caged zoo animal. That's the analogy that I always use. And I just wanted out. I was successful in my jobs. I worked very hard. I was not at all struggling to do my work or anything. It's something just did not feel right to me. And the whole time I was continuing to coach. I coached at Eastern down in Philly for a year, and then I volunteered at Westchester for a season before I came back and took the head coach's job at Mansfield. And I just knew I needed to be coaching. I knew I needed to be doing something within the athletics realm.
Right.
And I really struggled with the transition.
Yeah. But ultimately, that transition brought you full circle into what it is that you're doing and the coaching position that you have now. So it did end up, fulfilling itself the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's funny because I had mentioned to you before, my dad always told me, like, you should coach, you should teach, and I never really wanted anything to do with it. Until I was done playing, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna do something where I'm not comfortable. Because for me, like, and probably maybe in an even unhealthy manner, like, athletics in general are my identity. Like, I don't really know who I am without that. So it's kind of been something for me that I love going to work every day now, and it's kind of worth the hours and you know, the drama sometimes. Like, it's just not something, like, I can't see myself doing anything else.
Right. Well, I mean, in that identity of an athlete and that identity of a coach go hand in hand. So it's great that that transition did end up to continue that identity of sports that you have. If you could, what would you say would be the number one thing that the sport of basketball or the sport of softball has taught you in your career?
I mean, if I had to pick one, I really don't think I could pick one. I would say definitely, like, discipline and hard work. But relationships. I mean, we say all the time to recruits that come through at Bloomsburg, and I've said it even when I was at Mansfield, like, coaching and sports in general it's about relationships. I mean, yes, it's about wins and losses and, you know, training and all this other stuff, but to me, it's always been about relationships. And I think that started, you know, when I was in Little League, when I was on travel ball in high school. Like, my teammates are like my family. Legitimately, like, I would not be able to survive without the relationships that I have with my teammates. And I think that for me as a coach, I mean, to me, at the end of the day, if a recruit and her husband or family are coming to a game of ours 10 years after they graduate, then I feel like I've done my job. And I think that that's what it's about and what it has to be about. Because if it's about anything other than that, I feel like you're not going to be successful. And I just think that that's the biggest thing, that kind of the importance of your friends and your teammates and like, you know, being there for each other and having that support system is just something that I think trumps all the other kind of things that you learn. And there's a million things that I've learned from being an athlete.
Definitely relationships and that support system is crucial, and it's awesome that sports is what gets in there. So I definitely appreciate the time to be able to share this story and share your story with us. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please like and subscribe below. And in addition to that, remember, whatever it is that you do today, approach it with the mindset of, is this my final play? Thanks a lot.